This past month, we decluttered our entire house. There were some rooms where I just kind of picked up things that I knew that we needed to get rid of, but there were also some spaces that I spent more time on, and definitely some spaces that we hadn't tackled in a while, like the garage and the attic. So here are some things that I learned while we decluttered our entire house. For me and my kids, I find that decluttering kids' rooms and kids' spaces is easiest when you do it in stages. So not trying to tackle the entire room at one time. Let's say one day you pick the dresser, the next day you pick the closet, the next day you pick this toy bin, the next day you pick the bed. That way you can break it up. It's less overwhelming for the child if the child is helping you, and it's definitely less overwhelming for me because it can be so overwhelming. And I like to use this type of method with other spaces that are really overwhelming as well, or rooms. Instead of tackling an entire room all at one time, I will take 15-20 minutes here and then like 15-20 minutes the next day. And if I go longer, then I go longer. But with me just saying I'm only going to work on it this amount of time or just this space, I find that I'm going to go ahead and do it a lot easier than if I am thinking about doing an entire room. I will definitely possibly put that off. Next is decluttering with someone can make things easier. So I find that when I am decluttering, specifically with my husband, because he's the only other adult in our household, I get motivation from him and him from me as well. Like, we can encourage each other. We can ask each other questions like, are you really going to use that? Did you actually use that this past year or this past years? And we can kind of help each other make the tough decisions. But going along with that, sometimes decluttering with someone else is harder. So my husband is the one in the relationship that will say, everything needs to go. We need to get rid of all of it right now. Especially with stuff that like he doesn't manage and that I'm the one managing. Obviously, it's easier for him to say that. But if there are things that I haven't really thought about getting rid of, or I just haven't put that much mental time into the decisions because I need that personally. If he is like, let's go, make the decision super fast. Are you going to get rid of it? Are you not going to get rid of it? Sometimes that is actually really difficult for me, and I start to feel a lot of anxiety and really overwhelmed with that type of stuff. And so I will have to tell him, I would say, I'm not going to look through that stuff right now. Like, do not make me. I'm going to put it aside. I'm going to think about it for like a couple of days, and then I'm going to go back to it. I cannot make those decisions right now. And I have had to come to a place where I am okay with that decision, like saying I'm going to wait and I'm going to think about it, and telling him like, no, that's not what I'm going to be doing right now, because that's overwhelming and I need to do what's best for me mentally. And then, I do get to it. I'll say, hey, I'm going to do it on this day. So I don't just like let it sit there for weeks or for months. I'm going to say I'm going to do it in 2 days. And that way I have a little bit of time to think about it. But I also have a deadline. Now this time, since we did some decluttering in our garage, basement, closets, attic, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to give you a reminder as well. Make sure you're putting use to the things that you are storing, that there is a purpose to you storing those things, and not just, I'm not using it anymore, put it in storage. So things that I keep in storage are going to be like holiday decorations. But again, with holiday decorations, make sure the ones that you're storing, you're actually using. If you get out your holiday decorations and there's some left that you didn't put out, go ahead and get rid of those. You don't need them in your storage bins. Same thing for closets. Like, so I will store seasonal clothes, but when I get seasonal clothes out, if there are things that I'm like, I didn't wear that last year, I'm not gonna wear it this year, go ahead and get rid of it. I store like kids' clothes that are one size up so that we'll be ready to get those out when they need them. And then my girls, I do store the sizes in between them. So that kind of stuff I know is going to get use. I do store some toys and games in a closet, but again, make sure we're using those. So we went through and we said, hey, are we actually going to use these? Have we actually used these? And we made decisions on what to get rid of. I mentioned this one a little bit earlier about how when my husband is like, let's get rid of a whole bunch of stuff, and I haven't had time to think about it, that it really overwhelms me and gives me some anxiety. So for me personally, and maybe not for everybody, but especially if you're starting out decluttering, I feel like it's a little bit harder to make those first decisions on what to get rid of. Maybe not for everybody, but maybe most. So for me, I think I probably do this on a very regular basis, where I am looking around every time I open something up or whatever. I am saying, hey, like maybe I don't use that thing all that much. And so every time I'm opening a drawer and getting something out, I'm looking at that item and I'm saying, do I actually need it? And so by the time it's like, okay, it's time to do a little bit more decluttering, which I do often, I already have some things in my mind that I am ready to get rid of because I have given myself that mental time to make the decision. And for me, that makes it so much easier to part with things. When I buy a replacement or an upgrade, go ahead and get rid of the old thing. So I'm gonna give you an example. My husband has been using an electric toothbrush for a few years now, and a few months ago I made the switch and got my children and I electric toothbrushes. And I organized the kids and I got rid of their old toothbrushes and theirs was all looking nice. And for me, for some reason, I put my electric toothbrush on my bathroom counter, but I still had the mason jar and my old regular toothbrush sitting there, and it was just sitting there. And probably because I don't have a ton of stuff on my counter, I wasn't in a super rush to get rid of it. I don't know if I was making sure I liked it. I don't know. I mean, an electric toothbrush is obviously cleaning my teeth better, but I didn't get rid of it. And so when I went through my bathroom during this declutter, I was like, I need to get rid of that. I haven't gotten rid of it yet. So that's just a quick, funny example, but it does apply to a lot of things. Sometimes we get rid of something, or we're wanting to buy something else because something else isn't functioning correctly, or it's broken, or whatever the reason, or we get a better quality something, and we do not go ahead and get rid of the old thing. But we just need to make that mental note. Go ahead and get rid of it when you get the new thing. Well, that's it for today's video. I hope that you learned some things from some of the things I learned from decluttering my entire house. I hope that you stick around and subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate y'all's support, and I will see y'all in the next video.